Hello everybody and welcome to SnackTube. Today I've got a wee thing from Snacksters. Reviewed quite a few of their things on this channel, but they keep coming out with new stuff, so we have to keep trying them. So this one is a Snacksters Meatball Marinara. So, as you may know with Snacksters, their packaging, it's meant to evoke feelings of a certain fast food franchise called, McDonald's. But this one feels a bit more like a Subway. I think the colours definitely evoke a Subway, but then packaging, the design, kind of evokes a McDonald's. So yeah, it's a combination of the two. But anyway, it's a meatball marinara, which is definitely by far the best thing you can get out of Subway. Hands down. I do like an Italian BMT, but I usually, 90% of the time, I go for the meatballs. So this is a microwave, well, no, it's not a microwavable meatball. It's an air fryable meatball. Yes, that's right. The principal means of cooking this, as described on the instructions, is in the air fryer. I think air fryers have gotten so popular now that, you know, they have to put the instructions for air fryers on pretty much everything, which is an interesting development. It also gives you instructions on how to do it in the oven. It doesn't give you microwave instructions, so you shouldn't do this in the microwave. So you've got to have an air fryer. It talks about, anytime you see air fryer instructions on packaging though, they always talk about having like, it's one of these types with the drawers. Mine doesn't have drawers, mine's just it looks like basically like an oven, only it's smaller. I don't think it makes much difference to the temperatures and the time cooking and stuff like that. Not, at least not enough to really worry us. But anyway, meatball marinara. I do love a meatball sub, so I'm hoping this will be nice. But we'll see. It was about £2.50, I think, out of Iceland. So let's see, what can we learn from our packaging. They also do that. The thing I like about Snacksters as well, they do that, but they also do it that way. So you can put it on the shelf any way you like, to your heart's content, which is quite cool. Right, okay. So it's a white sub roll filled with 3 cooked and seasoned beef and chicken meatballs, herby tomato sauce, and slices of Monterey Jack cheese. That all sounds nice. Beef and chicken meatballs, herby tomato sauce, slices of Monterey Jack cheese. Sounds good, right? There's your list of ingredients. If you want to pause the video and have a look at them, of course, you're better off probably just Googling them. Nutritional information. This says per 100 grams as sold. I don't know, how many grams is this thing? Let's see if I can find the information. 201 grams. It's 201. So basically, you were doubling all this because we're eating it, right? So 265 calories per 100 grams. So this will be, what's that, 530 calories for the whole thing. 10 grams of fat, which is 20 grams. 4.7 grams of saturates, which is 9.4 grams. That's almost half your saturates for the day, which is pretty bad. 33 grams carbs, so 66 grams, of which 3 grams of sugar, so that'll be 6 for us. 1.4 grams of fiber, 2.8. 11 grams of protein, which would be 22, and 1.31 grams of salt, which would be 2.62 grams of salt in this. So yeah, doesn't sound like it's going to be very good for us. It's quite high in the salt, high in the fats and the saturated fats, and yeah, about 500 calories. I'm having this for my lunch, so I'd say 500 calories for lunch is reasonable, right? But depends if it's actually filling or not, and tasty. But in the air fryer, it takes about 12 minutes plus faff time. So you've got to open it up, take the meatballs out, put them in for 8 minutes, and then while that's doing that, you take the sauce sachet, put it in a cup of hot water to, you know, defrost it. And then once the 8 minutes is over, you've got to open up the sub roll, put the cheese on one side, take the meatballs out, put them out on the other side, put that back into the air fryer for another 4 minutes, and then take it out, add the sauce, fold it over, Bob's your uncle. So quite a lot of faff to make this, to the point where I'd probably feel better just buying a nice jar of sauce, some nice cheese slices, some nice meatballs, and a really nice baguette or something, and making one myself, as opposed to going through all the faff of microwaving this and storing this thing in my freezer as well, because it's quite a big box. So yeah, make of that what you will. It's meant to be convenient. It's not really that convenient. You can also do it in the oven, and that apparently takes 12 minutes and then another 5, so about 17 minutes plus faff time. And the faff time is important. You know, the faff adds like an extra 5 minutes to this thing. So Do you want to wait 17 minutes for a meatball thing, which, I don't know, it might be nice. We'll see. I'm not optimistic, but we'll see. Right, I guess I should show you. So that's the serving suggestion. That's what it looks like on the packet there. Let me show you the real thing. Ta-da! Yeah, it's the bread's slightly crusty, but it's soft. Maybe it's slightly overcooked a little bit, but I did it for the time it said. You've got the meatballs are more like meat flats. They're not very ball shaped. They're quite flat meatballs, I have to say. I mean, it makes it easier to keep them on the bread, but yeah, I was expecting full-on balls. They're not that big. The sauce looks a bit watery, so I don't know how tomatoey it's going to be. And then, of course, there's the cheese under there. It doesn't look very appetizing when I hold it up like this, but the cheese is on there and it's sticking it all together. So yeah, it doesn't smell too bad. It smells all right. So let's do it then. This is Snacksters Meatball Marinara. Let's give it the old taste test. It feels like a lot of bread. Well, I recognise that flavour and that texture. Quite chewy bread. Chewy bread isn't necessarily a bad thing, it depends. So far, I'm mainly tasting the meatball. I'm not really tasting the sauce. Usually when you get a meatball sub from Subway, they're like dunked in the sauce, they're like soaked in the sauce so it all gets inside the meatball, and then they put extra sauce on the bun as well. This is very much a light smattering of sauce. Taste a little bit of the herbs, but it's not particularly tomatoey. Can't really taste the cheese. I'm not really getting any texture from the cheese either. It's a bit lost in there. The bun is okay. I quite like the bun. It's got a bit of chewiness to it, but a little bit of crunch around the edge, which is nice. The meatballs I don't mind, but only because I've got terrible taste in food. I like cheap stuff. Sometimes, it depends how cheap it is. Some cheap stuff is really nasty, but I don't mind certain cheap things. It tastes like a cheap frozen beef thing. Like if you buy really cheap frozen beef burgers, you know, where you can get like 8 of them for £1 in a packet, and it's like the worst, cheapest meat that they've had to pump chemicals in to not make it taste disgusting. It kind of tastes like that. So it's really low grade quality meat in there. It does taste a little bit chemically as well, not gonna lie. Not a huge amount of bite to it either. They're quite mushy, the meatballs. Not as mushy as some things I've had, but a little bit mushy. The meatballs are the biggest flavour that's coming through. So it mostly tastes like the meat, like the beef. I know there's chicken in the meatballs as well, but it mostly tastes like the beef. You can't really taste the cheese, even if you try and bite a bit that isn't meatball. The cheese doesn't have a lot of flavour. The sauce, let me try a wee bit of sauce on its own. Yeah, lacking any flavour or depth. There's a very hint of sweetness to it, slight herbiness, but very, very bland, quite watery. There's no No real amount of flavour there. By the time that goes on the bun with all the meat and everything, you can't really taste it. So really all you can really taste is the cheap ass meatballs. And I know for a fact they're not for everybody. I don't mind them personally. I would never choose that kind of meat. I don't have to buy cheap burgers, so I don't. But I don't mind them. But a lot of people won't like that. A lot of people won't like them at all. So yeah, quite disappointing. I would recommend away from this meatball sub because it's yeah, it's not very nice. And it just doesn't do much. You know, all the stuff that's supposed to add good flavour doesn't. And the only thing that has any flavour, the flavour's not that good. So, yeah, not worth the money. Definitely not worth the money. Well, that'll do for today. I mean, this is the first in 3 Snacksters videos that I've got coming up. So, I've got a meatball marinara. I've got another Subway type thing similar to this. And then I've got a wrap as well. So, subscribe if you want to come back and see those reviews. Like the video, give it a thumbs up, hit the bell to get notifications. Of course, I also have my gaming channel, Electric Reload, where I talk about my game collection, play games, and all that kind of stuff. I do quite a lot of shorts for that, YouTube shorts. It's also on TikTok, and I have SnackTube on TikTok as well. I don't upload these full videos onto TikTok because the maximum you get on there is 10 minutes, and most people don't watch 10-minute videos on TikTok anyway. I put up anything that's under 10 minutes, and I do put up random stuff, which will also go on the shorts on here anyway. So if you don't use TikTok, stick with the YouTube. It's fine. You'll see all the stuff anyway. Either way, I'm happy that you're watching. But thanks very much for joining me for this meatball marinara. It was disgusting. It wasn't disgusting. It was boring. Very, very, very boring. And yeah, I will see you next time. Hopefully we have something nice. I'll catch you then.